Hello, and welcome to the Orion Emporium. Today we have got part 3 in the video series of how to have the best league start every league start. And in part 3 of this series, I'm going to be talking about how to practice after you've completed all of your planning. So part 1, we talked about how to pick a spread of league starters so you're not surprised by the patch notes. Part 2, we talked about mapping farming strategies or Atlas passive tree to your build strengths so you can really highlight them. And now, part 3, we're going to talk about putting it all together, practicing, and being prepared. And the goal ultimately is that your practice runs, or by practicing in advance of the league, there are going to be no surprises for you on league start. So, what do I mean by that? Or how are you going to actually get there? Well, you are going to do 2 practice runs of a build that you want to try, and that is the best case scenario. So obviously, right away, you're going to say that is a lot of time. And before anything else in this video, I should say that the only way to really have an exceptional time if you want to be very fast at league start is to practice. You have to put in the work. You have to meaningfully try and get better. It's just the way of life. You have to practice at anything to get better. So with that in mind, we're going to think about how to practice efficiently. And that's where this 2 runs part comes in. So let's get started here as I'm talking. The idea, generally speaking, is you're going to do 2 runs of your build. Why are you going to do 2 runs? Because your first one, you're really going to figure out all your gems and whatnot. And in your second run, you're going to catch any sort of little bugs with it. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as I get into town. So I'm going to use this moment to talk about what I'm doing for my league start. As I talked about in some of the other videos and have shown, I'm going to be playing a trapper, and specifically explosive trap as saboteur. Now there's a lot of love for trickster instead for explosive trap now because of the changes to saboteur, but I did the math on some of the nodes now with the new saboteur, and I think it's still a really strong build. I think the extra AoE that you get from saboteur now means that you can scale your damage a lot more and not have to worry about AoE, and you don't have to gem swap necessarily, because before explosive trap was kind of notorious for needing a gem swap for bossing to mapping, and I really hate that kind of gameplay, so I'm excited for it. But so explosive trap's going to be the league start, but how have I been preparing for it? So let's talk about that. In your 2 practice runs, you're going to want to prepare a couple things every single time. So first things first, when you get to Lionized Watch here, you notice we're getting a gem. And this is going to be part 1, is you want to prepare and understand what gems your build needs as you're going through the axe. So for example, you want to figure out what position in the row from the quest reward you're going to get your gem, as well as every time you have a quest reward where you get a gem, you want to check the shop and see if there's any other gems that you should consider buying. And so your first run is going to be quite slow as a result. You have to be meaningfully checking or thinking about this sort of thing. But that's okay, because this is really going to set the blueprint for you going your absolute fastest, where you don't have to think about the run, you just go and it happens fast. So here, you're going to check if you want to buy gems. You're going to make sure you understand what quest rewards you want, and write all this down, because those notes or that preparation is really important for later. Next things first, you're going to want to get a regex search going. So what is this? This is Path of Exile regex, and basically this is going to help you make search strings so that you can get items with links you want from shops easily. So basically, you can take this search string that it generates for you, and you can go into the shop and paste it, and it will highlight if there's any of the items you select. So the most common ones are looking for specific links. So if I want a 3 green link, it would be highlighted here. So for example, GGG, this will be highlighted. You want to do that for the links or colors that you really want. So this build in particular wants 2 green and a red. But you can't just do something like GGR, because if it was red, green, green, it wouldn't show up on this filter. So definitely use the regex search function from the website. I'll post it in the comments, or the description of this video, excuse me. Also, check this out, 3 link off the start, ballin'. Next thing you want to do though, you want to have your regex search prepared and copied into your path of building notes. So for example, like on my builds, I've listed in various descriptions. I have some sort of leveling notes. For this one, it's really simple because it was just kind of for myself last minute. But on, for example, the Chaos Blade Vortex POB, which I have now posted the updated version on part 1 of the series, um, for that one, there's really in-depth leveling notes. And whatever you prepare for yourself, all that matters is that it's functional. So those are the kind of two things you want to prepare on your first run through. And as you're doing the run through, you also want to be making notes to yourself of how the build is feeling and specifically what awkward moments are you running into as you're playing the build. So for example, playing Trapper, I noticed right away that my mana was a big problem as leveling. Even with clarity, even with not reserving a ton of mana, I mean, it is just a really expensive build to play in terms of mana costs. So that's something that I've made note of, and now as a result, I will actually prioritize things like mana regeneration amulets or mana regeneration on gear in general. I've thought about taking some extra nodes while leveling. These are the kind of things you want to learn. And that way, on your second run through, after you've got your gems figured out from the shops, from the quests, after you understand your tree for leveling a little bit, after you've got your search strings prepared, on your second run through, you want to test all the little glitches or awkward moments that you had in your first run. So for example, this first run for trap leveling, I got to level 68. I even did a couple little maps. But on this one, I figured out about the mana thing. I figured out about energy shield versus scepters versus fire versus fizz gem levels, those kinds of things. So basically, the rundown being that fire is much better than physical or higher priority because it also scales your Herald of Ash. Physical does your explosive trap, but not your bad recording juju. Basically, fire levels scale your Herald of Ash, whereas physical levels scale your determination, so it's not as good overall. But basically, those are the kind of things you want to be trying to do in your two runs. From that point, anything else that you do after that, whether it be a third run or whether it be partial runs, it's really just about optimization. So just trying to get as good or as precise as possible. You can do things like look for specific attribute breaking points or levels. You can do things like, I don't know, figure out how to fit a library quest area into your run through so you can pick up some extra gems. Like, you can really just try and push your speed to the absolute limits. If you're the kind of player that's willing to do more than 3 practice runs for a build, I assume that you're also the kind of player that knows how to research and, you know, kind of teach yourself. So I won't go into that. That's not the purpose here. The purpose here is to set this framework of doing the 2 practice runs to prepare for a build and what you kind of need to prepare in those practice runs. So that is going to be all here for this topic. So just to summarize, we're going to be doing 2 practice runs for Elite starters. The first one, you want to get your regex search prepared. You want to get your gems prepared, both as the quest rewards and what you can buy from the shop. And on your second run, you can test those optimizations as well as the awkward moments you note from the first run in the second and your attempted fixes. So for example, if you have mana problems, doing things differently on the second run, did it solve it, that kind of option. And as a result, you will not have any surprises on your league start when playing your build. All the problems that might happen you will have already run into, or at least the goal is to catch as many as possible. Maybe the patch comes out and some mechanic is bugged and your build doesn't function. That just happens, and there's nothing you can ever do to prepare for that. Thank you for watching this video, and if you've been watching throughout the whole series, thank you as well. This has been a 3-parter. It's my first attempt at doing some kind of structured YouTube content beyond just me raving about devouring diadems, so thank you for sticking around for the whole series. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you have been following the whole series or even just caught this one, please leave a like or comment with your thoughts. It really means a lot to me when I am just a small little YouTuber doing my damn thing. What I'm going to do from here on out, or what you can expect from me from the league start or after the league start, is that I will be posting an update after the opening weekend with how my league start went. So I'm going to be playing Explosive Trap Saboteur. There's lots of room for shenanigans because it is reworked Saboteur, and while it is written one way and I can calculate for it, maybe it is just completely bugged or goes nothing according to plan, because really I do have a bit of mystery. But I think that'll be kind of fun because I don't have quite as much time to know life this weekend as I have for previous ones. It is Easter in Canada, so a little bit busy there. Overall, though, you can expect from me a summary of how my league starter went, and I think you guys will enjoy that content. Maybe I'll be showing off a fresh little farm like my previous Devouring Diadem video, so stick around for that. Thank you so much. Have a good one.